Traveling over the border can be a great way to experience other cultures. Experiences can be vastly different in a neighboring city simply because it's in a different country. Nowadays, many travelers can just show their passport and head into a foreign land to explore with minimal issues. Sometimes, though, the country you're entering asks for more than you're willing to give. By 1914, as Europe plunged into the cataclysmic abyss of World War I, the United States found itself at the crossroads of history. At the helm of Mexico, Venustiano Carranza had been inaugurated as the head of state, marking the end of the Mexican Revolution's major hostilities. Yet across the border, in the heart of the United States, a confluence of factors would soon collide to set the stage for a harrowing chapter in history. Between 1915 and 1917, a mysterious epidemic, often reported as typhoid fever but sometimes identified as typhus, began its relentless spread. Emerging from the bustling heart of Mexico City, the deadly affliction fanned out across the provinces, casting its ominous shadow from Veracruz to Jalisco. A pervasive sense of unease gripped the land as communities grappled with this ominous threat to public health. In September of 1916, against the backdrop of this looming crisis, Carranza made a pivotal move. He called for a constitutional convention, an audacious bid to quell the ongoing conflict and usher in an era of peace and stability for Mexico. It was during this turbulent period that Thomas Calloway Lee Jr. ascended to the office of mayor of El Paso, Texas, where our story takes a divisive turn. Mayor Lee feared the potential spread of disease and, harboring prejudiced beliefs, he sent impassioned telegrams to U.S. senators in Washington, fervently demanding the imposition of a quarantine. His words invoked the specter of dirty, lousy, destitute Mexicans as the harbinger of a typhus epidemic that could engulf El Paso. The public health service officer for El Paso, though acknowledging the minimal danger, resisted the imposition of a quarantine but recommended an alternative: the establishment of delousing facilities. U.S. officials swiftly embraced that approach, leading to the implementation of a policy that would leave an indelible mark on history, a policy to sanitize Mexican immigrants at a designated disinfecting station in El Paso. Initially targeting Mexicans entering the United States at the El Paso border crossing, the practice soon expanded its reach, extending across the vast expanse of the U.S.-Mexico border. The procedure itself was as dehumanizing as it was intrusive. Men and women, accompanied by their children, were forcibly separated into different facilities. There, they were stripped of all of their clothing and personal belongings, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. The garments and valuables were subjected to scalding steam, while items sensitive to moisture, such as shoes, hats, or belts, were exposed to the nauseous fumes of cyanogen gas. Amidst this ordeal, attendants meticulously examined the nude individuals for sign of lice, a degrading invasion of privacy. Disturbingly, rumors swirled that Border Patrol officers supervising these strip searches clandestinely photographed the exposed women and circulated these images within the seedy haunts of local bars. For those unfortunate enough to be found with lice, the consequences were equally harsh. Men saw their hair ruthlessly clipped close to their scalps, with the discarded clippings consumed by flames. Women faced a humiliating dousing of their hair in a concoction of vinegar and flammable kerosene. The mixture left to marinate while swathed in towels for a torturous 30 minutes or more. Upon reinspection, if lice persisted, the degrading process was repeated. Only once attendants declared that the lice inspection had been passed were the naked individuals congregated in a communal bathing area. Here, they were subjected to a final indignity, a dousing with liquid soap derived from soap chips and kerosene oil. Shivering and stripped of dignity, they would emerge to retrieve their sanitized clothing, only to be further evaluated by a foreman, administered vaccines, and issued certificates affirming their ordeal's completion. From this purgatorial disinfecting zone, migrants would eventually proceed to the Immigration and Naturalization Service building for further processing, each step marked by the heavy hand of a system that saw them as potential carriers of contagion. At the break of dawn on January 28, 1917, the clock neared 7:30 a.m., and a seemingly ordinary scene unfolded on the border of El Paso, Texas and Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Passengers filled the trolleys, and amongst them was a young woman. Just 17 years old at the time, Carmalita Torres would soon find that her extraordinary courage would end up defining her legacy. As the inspectors boarded the trolley, their intent was clear: to remove Mexican women and subject them to a disinfection process that had become the stuff of nightmares. Ordered to disembark and submit to this dehumanizing ordeal, Carmalita refused, her defiance fueled by unsettling rumors that had swept through the community. Whispers had reached her ears, tales of nude women being photographed while undergoing these invasive baths. Even more sinister were reports that bathers might face a fate as horrific as it was accidental, a threat of being set ablaze, reminiscent of a tragic incident the previous year when gasoline baths at the El Paso City Jail had claimed the lives of 28 inmates after a simple cigarette ignited the volatile atmosphere. Carmalita, in a bold act of protest, made a simple request: to be allowed entry without undergoing the humiliating bathing ritual. Her plea, however, fell on deaf ears, met with a stern refusal. Undeterred, she demanded a refund for her fare, a gesture that would soon ignite a spark of defiance among her fellow passengers. The women on her cable car, moved by her courage and their shared indignation, joined her in protest. The scene that followed was one of escalating violence and collective outrage. At its core, this early wave of protesters was made up of young domestic workers employed in El Paso homes, their spirit aflame with a determination to reclaim their dignity. Amidst the commotion, reports emerged of violence, with one cable car motorman and a mail coach driver reportedly beaten by rioters. Even media crews found themselves under attack. Though rumors of gunshots circulated, Mexican authorities officially denied such incidents and claimed that no serious injuries had occurred. The following day, on January 29th, the riots persisted, but this time the composition of the rioters shifted. The majority were now men, and their motivations extended beyond the confines of the bathing disturbance. Newspapers carried accounts of these male rioters seizing the moment to protest against the Carranza regime, pledging support for the revolutionary Pancho Villa. In response to the escalating unrest, Ciudad Juarez Police Chief Maximo Torres issued orders to arrest all rioters. Mexican cavalry was deployed to restore order on the bridge. The impact of the riots reached far beyond the demonstrations themselves, as business owners and households found themselves without laborers, and the Chamber of Commerce was called upon to mediate solutions. On January 30th, a series of precautionary measures had been put in place, gradually quelling the riotous fervor that had gripped the region. While tensions had subsided, 2 men and 1 woman were arrested on the American side of the bridge for assaulting a customs officer and an infantryman. No further outbreaks of violence were reported. Police officers from Juarez maintained a vigilant watch over the southern end of the bridge crossing. A Mexican health inspector named Andres Garcia took on the role of ensuring respectful treatment at the disinfection plant, and streetcar services between the two cities were temporarily suspended. Notices were prominently posted in Juarez advising travelers that the inspectors in El Paso would accept health certificates issued by Mexican health authorities. Tragically, the aftermath of the riot did not bring an end to the troubling practices. American authorities persisted with chemical disinfection well into the 1950s, subjecting Mexican immigrants to years of continued indignity. However, the ramifications of those actions extended even further, inadvertently providing a dark inspiration for one of the most horrific chapters in human history, the Holocaust. In 1938, a German scientific journal conducted a study that not only examined but praised the methods implemented at the El Paso disinfecting facilities, which Americans had grimly referred to as gas chambers at the time. Disturbingly, that study lauded the use of Zyklon B, the same lethal chemical agent that would later become a horrifying instrument of mass murder in the Nazi death camps. This eerie connection underscores the chilling ways in which history's shadow can stretch across continents and generations. The 1917 Bath riots stand as an incident that has all too often been overlooked, overshadowed by other narratives of the past, yet it holds a profound significance, not just for the Mexican-American community, but for all who value justice and human rights. Despite the passage of time, the echoes of the Bath riots continue to resonate today. Carmelita's legacy, often likened to that of the Latina Rosa Parks, faded into obscurity after her detention and mysterious disappearance. To this day, her fate remains unknown. Nonetheless, her name lives on through Casa Carmalita, a migrant resident across the Stanton Street Bridge in El Paso honoring her memory. Casa Carmalita stands as a living tribute to her indomitable spirit, a stark reminder that even in the face of adversity, one person's courage can spark a movement for change. In literature and scholarship, her memory is preserved, ensuring that the 1917 Bath riots and the legacy of Carmalita Torres will not fade into obscurity but will inspire and educate generations to come. Thanks for letting us tell you this sinister story. If you enjoyed it, subscribe on whatever platform you're on, and hit like, rate it, or leave a comment. Join us next week when we'll take you somewhere sinister.